Hey guys, good morning. So we have another DIY short clip, and what we do is we put all these clips together. They're not all done at the same time, the projects aren't. So we put all the clips together until we have enough to make a video, and then we put it up. So if you see things in the background that you know we've already put in play, but they're not in the video, just realize that these videos are not in real time, that they could be a couple weeks older or 3 weeks older or whatever. And we just collect the clips, and then once we get the clips together and make a video, I download them from my phone to Therese's phone. She puts them together, does the editing, and puts it online. So that's how that works. So just realize that. The clip isn't about the items in the background that we're not talking about. They're about the items in the topic. So this topic, I'm going to flip the camera around and we're going to talk about another good purchase we did. This item was at Lowe's. It was on clearance, and I don't remember the exact price, but it was somewhere around $5. So I just got it installed and wired up, and I just wanted to show it to you and share it with you as one of the DIY projects around the house. So I'm out here at the garage area. There's a little side room in the garage and a little spot where we park the Jeep that's underneath a cover here. And what we wanted to do is get a motion light out here. It's very dark at night, so when we come over from the house over here at night, we have to have a flashlight or use our phone at night. So what I've done, if I installed this little, it's a motion sensor light, and it is Wi-Fi enabled. And it took me a little while to get it Wi-Fi connected to the network, download and update the software, but it's now working. And all the factory settings, I really don't want to change them. But this is a dimmable. You can also set the sensitivity and all of that. But right now it's at 100%. Sensitivity's at max. I just want it to come on when we walk around the corner here, or should we have someone on the property that doesn't belong here and they walk up to the door, this light will come on and hopefully scare off any potential mischievers, vagrants. We really don't have that problem here, but you know, some YouTubers get stalkers and some people get wild ideas, so another security measure in place. So there it is. It's got a motion sensor on the bottom. It's all wired. It's hooked up, ready to go. It's just not dark enough to come on. It has to be dark and motion for it to come on. So I had to get some stuff from Lowe's. I had to get a junction box there. You can see it. And I had to pull the sheet metal down so that I could attach the junction box to the wood post and then cut a hole with some tin snips to get it all connected. It did take a couple of hours, but just because there's a lot of little steps and it's a first time install and the surface really wasn't prepared for an install. We also bought some wire. This is 18 gauge wire, 3-way, 2-way and a ground, however you want to count that. And it's in a rubber coating, so then I attached it here so that the wire can't be tugged and pulled against the junction box. And then it just runs along here. And then I put another staple here to keep to keep it from pulling on this cable and keeping this pulled in the middle between this staple and that staple so that the loop gives it slack to the plug. And what I did for a plug is we had some old ADP equipment, like computers and whatnot, that we have power sources for but no computer for. They're old. They're probably 20 years old. And I just took one of the plugs off of that had a 3-way wire. So the ground could be plugged in. And I just stripped it, connected it, uses some heat shrink. Heat shrinked it together, all 3 wires separately, because I had some heat shrink. If you're not familiar with heat shrink, it's like a rubber sleeve that goes over your electrical joint, and then you heat it with a lighter or some hot source, heated source. If you have a torch, that's great. I used a lighter. It shrinks the rubber around the joint so it can't come loose. And then as an extra security measure, I take electrical tape and I did 2 wraps around, and you could probably see it. See the kind of this unsmooth surface area right in the middle of the picture? That's the joint. So I used, I picked a darker colored wire to match the darker colored wire. So he shrinked the 3 individual connections And on a house plug, the hot is on the right-hand side, so I looked that up just to make sure, but I put them in. So hot's on the right, white's on the left, because the wires coming off of that plug, that pigtail that I borrowed, they're not color coded. So you have to make sure the right wire's on the right side, or it's not going to work properly. So all done, heat shrinked, connected, heat shrinked, and then wrapped with electrical tape. And then you don't want the wire pulling on those joints, so you use the staple to hold one side in place so it free hangs to the plug and there's no pressure on those wires. It's just free hanging there. So that's an electrical source. This is the same plug that we use to hang the shop light, if you remember that short clip. I don't know if it's come out in the video yet or not, but it will. And I mounted this plug on the ceiling because I had the intentions of hooking up this spotlight outside, and it was a perfect place for it. It's a minimum wire distance. It's probably 6 feet. So that plug was there, put there intentionally. There's another lower plug down here that's used for whatever. I got a fan plugged into it, and then there's another plug way back in the corner back there. So when we get this cleaned up, we have 2 plugs. And then if you need more plugs than that, I don't suspect that we will for this space because there's not really much going on in here electrically. But we wanted the options to be able to plug in a radio or a fan or maybe another standing light or something. If she ends up doing eBay again, then we could plug in a printer. So there's no heavy electrical sources being used in this room. We just wanted a couple of outlets that we could, that we could run this. So I'm very rehearsed in electrical. I can run anything electrical from the meter box. As you know, we had the campground and we ran all the electrical and the expansion of the campground, the extra 12 lots. So and that's much higher current. You're dealing with 30 amp, 50 amp grounding issues. Going to the panel box, putting in the compression plugs and the breakers. I've done all that. I'm very rehearsed on that. So I feel very confident about putting in simple 20 amp plugs for electrical. And I go with 20 instead of 15. They're more commercial rated. They're just better quality. So these are all 20 amp plugs. Now these 2 plugs do share a circuit. So it would be 20 amps total before it would throw a breaker. So I don't anticipate ever getting 20 amps in here. So it should be a good work. So we got the outdoor motion light plug light on. It'll come on at night. It has to be both dark and motion. So if we walk out here at night, it should come on. Another thing I want to do is out front here, I have another light. It's a barn style light. In fact, I had one from the campground and I brought it with me because I knew I'd be getting a garage, and this is where I want to put it. I want to put it right here. And it's going to be a little hard to get to because you're up 12 feet for one reason. You got to climb over to it. But I'd like to put a barn style LED dusk to dawn light right there. It's not programmable. It's a straight up dusk to dawn. So it'll come on every night and light up this whole area here. And more of a security. Because this road has no lights on it. There's no lights on this road. And it's very dark. So that's what we're doing. One light installed. And we'll work on the other one. I can show you the other light. The other light is right here. It's an LED barn light. That's what they call it. Just the exact same ones we had in the campground. I'll get this opened up and get it installed. It's going to take some doing. So here's the one we just installed. And this is a Wi-Fi smart security light. You can operate it from your phone, and I got that all set up. So the LED barn light, I usually put these up on a pole. Have not put them up on it's sheet metal with wood framing, so I'm going to have to see if the area I want to put it is framed. If it isn't framed, I'm going to have to frame it. to give it something solid to mount to, because this light is a lot heavier than the other one. So we'll just start working on it and see how far I get. Thanks for joining us here at the Granger DIY. Hey guys, hey, coming to you live again, actually pre-recorded, but it'll be okay. I'm live right now, but it'll be pre-recorded for you. We're doing another DIY project. It's the same day we installed the other light. We're doing the front barn style light that's dusk to dawn, is much brighter than the other one. And this is for just the main entrance to the garage area for nighttime and keep criminals at bay, you know, go to the other house because we have lighting and they don't, you know, whatever. Anyway, so here's what we're doing. I wanted to do some of the in progress because you won't be able to see it once I mount the light. So I'm going to go ahead and flip this camera around. And we had to pre-drill some holes. Now this one's a little easier to install than the other one because there is a large, I think it's a 2x12 foot header board that's in here, so it's huge. So I got plenty of bracing behind the sheet metal, so I did not have to peel back the sheet metal like I did in the other project. There's a larger hole in the middle, and that's for the wiring. And then there's 3 preset drills for the lag bolts. So these will lag bolt right in. They came with the light. They'll screw right into this, and we'll have a good firm light mount. The big center hole actually could be bigger, but I think it's big enough. There's no need to go bigger if we don't need to, because this is a structural board. We don't want to compromise the integrity of this board at the minimum, and this is nothing, so it'll be fine. So I did a pre-drill on that. We're up on a 12-foot ladder, so this is the light that's going in. As you can see, it's got the middle wires. That's for the big hole. And then see the 3 yokes there, I'll call them, is where the smaller bolts will actually bolt to it. And so holding the camera here is a little tricky. But what will happen is the wire hanging there, if I had a third hand, I'd feed it into the hole. And then the 3 outer, where the lag bolt pre-drill holes went, are here for these. These little things will go there. And the wires will feed right into the board and then out the back of the board. And then let me get this up, and then I'll show you the wiring on the back, and then we'll just do the wiring and we'll be all set. This is actually, I was fearing this. I didn't know what was going to be involved, and this is actually the easiest light I think I've ever put up. Okay, so I've pre-screwed these in. And I left about a 1/4 inch on the stud there because the way the light is made, I don't have to hold the light up there and drill all 3 holes in there. It's got little notches, so I can I'm going to feed this wire into the hole. I need both hands, I can't hold the camera, so I'll feed this in and I'll rest it on those bolts, and then I'll run that top bolt in, and then that'll be it. That'll be easy. So let me get that done, and I'll show you the finished product here. So I wanted to show you this handy tool that came in handy here once again. It's basically a collared nut driver, I'll call it. It goes into the end of this Milwaukee tool here. But what I did is I had to use this snake because it's flexible. As you can see, I can bend it around curves and get in tight places, and it worked out good because I was trying to get around the light fixture itself and I couldn't get a good angle on it. So with this little attachment here, man, it's been gold. I love this thing. Came in handy again. So I just wanted to show you the tool I was using and the nut driver here that's powered by the drill. And now I'm going to tighten it down though with a hand open end wrench, and then we'll be all set. I'm ready for wiring. Okay, here we have the finished product connected to the wall, and the 3 lag bolts and the wire fed right through the header of the garage. And so we'll look at this, and here's the light. We'll go on the inside and start doing the wiring. Here's what it looks like on the outside from the ground level. So right here is the center, and I was trying to get it right on the center here. There is a ridge here, and it needed to be a flat surface, so I had to go a little left of center. Actually, the light seems to be right on center, so that should be good. Yeah, the ribs in the sheet metal look like it's off center, but I think it's on center. Or if it is any, it's an inch maybe left of center. That's fine, I can work with it. Okay, so here's the back of that front barn style light. Here's the wiring. It drilled right through this hole right here, through the block and the header board, so that's fine. Gives it wire more protection, I guess. I've already done the joint soldering to another plug type wire. So shrink, heat shrink, reinforced with insulation tape or electrical tape, 2 wraps, and then it goes down in the trough. There's no wire tension on this one, so I can just lay it in there. It doesn't really need to be stapled. Went open over, and the thing to remember here is you want to stay away from this spring-loaded mechanism here. You don't want to get the wire pinched in there in any way. So I went down around, and you can see I went over the rafter and behind that 4x4 post, so there's no way the wire can get wrapped around this spring-loaded door opener. You don't want to get around that. High tension. So we didn't even try to, didn't even touch it as we were working around it. Let me move the ladder and get on the other side, and I'll show you where we plugged it in. Okay, I'm on the ground level now. I'm not on the ladder. You can see the wire where it comes over the beam right here and comes down. It's the black wire to the back. The front wire is the garage door opener. And they'll work pretty much in the same fashion. It comes down. Right here is the hanging plug. I haven't plugged it in yet. So this is what I'm wired to. Again, I used an old cord with a hot, neutral, and a ground. So when I plug it in here, we should have power to the light outside. It comes on for a few seconds and then goes off. And you can see the light is on. The light should go off. And now it's ready. It's all wired and ready, and this is a dusk to dawn. There's no motion sensor on this light. It's a very bright light. And yeah, that when it gets dark, this light should illuminate. And this will be on all night. This one will be on all night. This one over here requires motion to come on and then go off. So that's what we wanted for door entry. And if someone's over here snooping around, it'll come on and maybe scare them off. Now, if they happen to break entry, there are motion sensors and cameras inside, so we will be alerted if they do go into the door. And there's nothing out here they can really, harm or take. So motion lights will go off. I get an alert to my phone. And hey, I'm happy. This light was a whole lot easier to install than I was anticipating. This one was about what I was anticipating and required more work. But hey, a successful install, and I think that's all we got going on over here. I think that's all I really needed to hook up in here. So very cool. I have decided these 2 lights that are already here, they don't sell them anymore. And I think they're bright enough. All I'm going to do is I'm going to take these 2 lights and maybe move them to the center, move them over about, 10 feet. And get them in the center, and that'll be my lights for the whole garage instead of installing new lights. I think that's the way I'm leaning. I haven't really made a final decision on that yet. But for right now, it's not really that important. I have enough light I can see in here. And on this side where it's a little darker, I can use a flashlight until I get either some lights up or get these moved over. So that really is it. This is DIY with the Grangers.
Hello everybody. We are now trying to film some of this azalea. I did already start cutting on it last time I was out here without filming, so I figured we'd do it this time. It's still humongous. Look how big it is.
Yeah, it's
huge.
And I
took off quite a bit last time. Now I didn't take off any of the height yet, but just look how far this comes out. And you can't hack it all at once, so I'm trying to do what I can before it gets cold, and then the spring and throughout the summer next year it'll get the good trimming it needs.
Yeah. And part of this, there's a lot of thorns growing in here.
Oh, there's so much of the thorns in here.
It's even growing up on the roof.
I got attacked last time. It looked like I got in a fight with a cat. Like my arms were all done and I wore shorts. So this time I'm wearing pants. I'm also wearing my back brace because I messed up my back when I was doing it last time. Getting older. So much fun.
Yeah. So this is more her forte. She used to do landscaping, so she knows more about this kind of stuff. And I do help. I help with the cleanup, but, you know, can't really two people shape the bush.
Plus you have other things to do, so it's all good. This is the starting point. You can walk around it and see how humongous it is.
I don't know that I would have put an azalea bush here to start with, because they only flower like for 1 week a year.
I know, they're so beautiful, but they don't flower enough.
Yeah. And then the rest of the time they look like this. A mess.
And if you leave it to go, that's an even bigger mess.
Let me back out so people can get a... See, that thing's taller than she is by a few feet.
It's over 30 years old.
But there's a lot of stuff growing in here that's not azalea. You can see it. There's thorns. It looks like there's some, oh man, what's that called?
A vine type of thing.
Yeah, it's like a morning glory. That's what I'm thinking. I grew up in Virginia. We have many of the same plants.
This?
And I don't know what that is. I think the heart-shaped stuff I thought were morning glories. I could be wrong.
There's a lot of stuff growing. It's going to get uglier.
All I know is it shouldn't be there and it needs to go.
This thing's going to get uglier before it gets prettier, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, that's okay. Well, I'll let you work on that for a little bit and I'll come back and check on you. How's that?
Yep, make sure I don't get in too much trouble here.
That's right. Okay, how's it coming along, Madam Mayor?
This thing is a mess.
It's a monster, isn't it?
There's so much dead stuff down in there. And I found a groundhog hole under here. And my bun keeps getting caught up in this mess.
So it keeps opening your hair up?
Yeah. And boy, this thing looks ugly as heck. I'm sure I'm making it look pretty terrible.
It'll grow out. We just want to separate the vegetation that is not part of the azalea bush.
It's going to take a while, let me tell you.
It might, yeah. Well, it looks like it's coming along. What I'll do is I'll get the rake and I'll start raking this mess up and get it over into the wood line.
All right, it's probably time to call it quits soon anyway, huh?
Yeah, you don't want to do too much, and we got plenty of time to do this.
Yep, tomorrow's another day.
So check this out. We were both tugging on some vines, and I think we got like a good third of the vines out of the bush. Look at this.
It was killing this thing.
All these are vines, and they're just choking out the bush.
I pulled a lot of dead stuff out of the middle, and that's why. Anybody
know what this is? Feel free to opine. Leave it in the chat. Educate us. Yeah, I'm breathing.
There's still a huge root ball for that vine in here.
Yeah, I'm breathing hard on that one. Whew. Good though. Good one. That's a good one. I still see some more in there, but that's a good big part of it. All right, we're doing some more DIY today this morning. This is the view from the back porch, and you can see the water. I want to show you here a little bit. See that blue in there right in the middle of the screen? That's the water. So we still want to clear, well, it's focusing on the screen. I did down some trees in there I want to clean up, so I'm going to go in there and clean those up and maybe take out a few more saplings in there so I can get a clearer shot of the water. So we're continuing to work on this. It's not a one and done type project. So that's what we're doing. Okay, now we're down in the forest and you can see what I started the other day. So these two trees that barber chair here, this is called a barber chair. It's not an ideal cut. Normally what you want to do is, it results from cutting the tree without cutting the notch out first and then doing a back cut. I didn't do that with this tree because it didn't really matter which way it fell. I've never been able to fall a tree up a hill. I don't know how trees know which way is up a hill and down a hill. Even if the limb weight is uphill, the tree tends to fall downhill. I don't understand it. I've looked it up. I've read it. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. So it didn't matter to me. And plus, I have limited amount of use. I have 3 batteries on this electric chainsaw, and so I can't do all these unnecessary cuts to get the tree to fall exactly where I want. And in this dynamic, where the tree fell really didn't matter to me whatsoever. I knew it would fall down toward the valley, and it did. Like, here's the valley I'm trying to clear out. You can clearly see the water from here. So I'm gonna finish taking these trees. What happened is this tree and this tree were leaning hard because this dead tree right here had fell on it. And so these trees were pushed over into a bow like this. And so it was totally blocking the view. Plus the trees are not going to grow with a good shape. They're not going to grow nicely. They're going to always be in the way. So I did cut the dead tree right there, and I tied some straps to it and used this tree right here to pull against it, and then I was able to pull that log and it fell on its own. Once it freed up and I got the dead wood off of it, then I cut these two and I just let them buck like that because I was almost out of battery power by this point. And then I cut through this tree and I knew it might fall on its own, and it did. I was like 75% of the way through it, but I didn't have any more battery power left to fall the tree the rest of the way. So the wind took care of it, knocked it down. I thought when it hit this one, it would knock it all the way down. It did knock it down some. So all I'm going to do now is finish these cuts and buck these trees up just so they'll lay flat and start to disintegrate, I guess, naturally go back into the earth. I'm just trying to help speed it along. And then we may take out a few more saplings here on the right. So the right side here is where my view is mostly blocked from the house. So we're just going to continue to work on that a little bit and clean this up. All right, this is another DIY project, and this one took a while, even though it was a very simple process. All I had to do was hang a bracket on the left side and a bracket on the right side. The challenge was getting to it because it's probably about 15 feet off the ground. As you can see, this is what, a 10 or a 12 foot ladder. I think it's a 12 foot ladder, maybe a 10 foot ladder. I don't even know. Anyway, so that's a tall ladder. It's taller than me. Standing on top of it, I still can't reach it. So I have to use a extension ladder, and I just don't like the footing on this slick floor with the extension ladder. But we did get it done, and it's a roll down shade if you can't really tell what it is. It's a light brown, and it allows quite a bit of light to come through there, but we wanted to knock the light down because the morning sun is like bleaching out the furniture and it gets really hot. So we wanted a shade to be able to go up and down. Now we looked at various they have fancy ones on remote control and electric, but you have to special order them, and they're a couple $100. There's a light. And now you can see it better with Therese shining the light on it. There's a rod over there to the right, and yeah, that rod's way up off the ground and you need a ladder. But I've got an idea. This was about what, $60, $70?
About 70.
About $70, but it was 3 times that for an electric one. And yeah, that might have been fancy and neat, but I really don't know that we're going to go up and down with it very often. And I think I can just extend this thing here to another pole, and then it could come down here and I could reach it from the floor. So I think this is modifiable, and I can get something that would work. But it looks nice. We had a curtain up there for a little while to knock the light down. this allows more light to come through the window, and I think it's almost hard to tell that you have a blind on that window. So I'm hoping it just knocks the sun down enough and we can still see through it and get the light from the window. I think it's about the perfect shade. So that was a DIY. That actually took about an hour and a half to do it because of the up and down the ladder and then getting the holes exactly the right distance apart. And you had to re-drill and then pre-drill and then screw them in again. And everything's hard to do from the top of an extension ladder. So it just took a while. You had to be careful. Because, if I fall on this floor, it's not going to be pretty. How do you think it turned out?
I think it turned out good. See, I'm over here holding the flashlight.
Yeah, she's over here holding the flashlight.
I think it turned out good, but it's crazy now getting older. I realize, especially with this, going up and down on ladders is
balance
not the
is
same.
off. Balance used to be easy. Now it's like you got to think about what you're doing.
Yeah, you got to be very careful. I don't like it anymore. I used to go up and down ladders with no problem, but now it's like you almost get nauseous and a little woozy, and
right.
Like this getting old is for the birds.
Yeah, it kind of stinks. But another DIY project done. So that's our project for today, and I'll probably get 2 more projects done. So that's it. This would be the DIY high vaulted ceiling window shade.